105.1 TMC, maayong adlaw sa kanatong tanan. Welcome to Top of the Morning. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice.
Bay Jaya, maayong buntag ka ninyong tanan.
Maayong buntag ni mo diya. Bay Jaya, kamusta man ka bay?
Mayo sa buntag.
Ang atong hisgutan karong buntaga is of course we have been promoting for the past few hours our addiction to fuel or fossil fuel. Kaya ba man ta siguro unsa nang pasabotan ng addiction, di ba? Kanang usa ka butang nga dili ta makalikay gyud, di gyud ta maka
pangita ba?
Pangita gyud nimo, di ba?
Balik-balikan bitaw.
So tinuod ba gyud nga tan-aw nato, are we really addicted to fossil fuel or gitawag nato og kaning kanang lain-lain ka klase nga fossil fuels na ay regular fuel, ay diesel fuel, right? Yeah. And so on and so forth. And I think by definition we are dependent on fuel, di ba? By Jay, pag-ari na ko diri, murag akong gisuwayan ako kaning ihian akong tangki sa akong sakinan ba. Ako gitong gituyo kay para makasave ko ba. Sus, di man mo andar. So dili de mahimo di ay. Dili de mahimo nga i-power.
Mangihi na nagbayo
naasa ko'y usa ka amigo nga puwerteng hambugiro
Aba matindi.
Ako pa siyang gipa litok og mga panghambog ni nga normal abi na ko kaning mudagan akong sakyanan sa hambog. Di sad gyud ay.
Aba matindi.
So kinanglang gyud ay.
May natog pwede sa hambog no kay naidaghan mo kusog siguro kay nang power sa imong sakyanan na.
Wala kayo limpyo kay ang atong environment kung mudagan sa hambog ang atong sakyanan, di ba? So nagpagasolina untong gapagapa diesel untong ko gapagasolina untong naglina-linya sa ko dito sa kuan sa gasolinahan. Lagot kay ko kay gikan ako paghatod sa ako ang anak sa Maayo Hotel, nilabay ko kanang usa ka Shell station ba ni ang iyahang signage kay ang gasolina kay 60 pa. 60 pa ba? Kanang digital ba?
Okay.
Pagsuod na ko dito, pagtubil na ko dito 75 naman. Lagutan ako abi na ko mo bitong ni ari ko diri kay ang presyo sa imuhang gasolina imuhang billboard is 60 pa niya. 75 nino nabuang mo diya.
Sa ingon nila.
Wala kani ko answer kana wala pa no update ko no. Pero you know if I had my way, if I had to insist on my rights, di ba?
Yeah.
Kita gugugod. That's
meaning
false advertising, right?
Advertising na to.
I think there are rules against that, right?
Yeah, of
Sakto
course.
Ba ko?
Yeah. Naa siguro nas balaod.
So kung ibutang nimo 75 or isa sinta diha ni batubil nimo 75, that's false advertising.
Yeah.
Unya basig tinapulan na gutugod tinapulan na tong empleyado sa Shell station ba?
Bituyo to, bait to bait. Paon to paon.
Mao lagi. Pero sa akong pangutana ba kaning kamo diha, do you feel nga you're also addicted to fuel nga you can't live without fuel? Kay grabe mo kay makaapekto sa tanan gyud nga butang sa ato ang kalibutan, di ba, Bay Jaya? Nga kung ang fuel mo saka tanan, di ba? Ang plite mo saka. Ang mga presyo sa palaliton mo saka. Everything goes up if fuel prices go up. It's like a domino effect ba? Di ba? So and what does that do? I was suspecting nga kung nagali if there's a fuel price hike, ang kadalanan the streets of Cebu will have less traffic. Sus pagpadog na ko diri purte magyapong trafika. So pasabot niya na nga maskig ang presyo ni saka na by a huge amount, life goes on. Right? Life goes on.
Yeah.
Right? Bahala nagsakit ikuot nimo sa imong pitaka. Bahala nagsakit pero padayon gyapon kinabuhi. Ang amag muundang ka, di ba? Ang magdi ka mo tunga sa imong trabaho tungod kay mahal ang gasolina, di ba? Ang magdi ka mo kaon nga mahal ang bugas.
So
life goes on because we're I would again describe it as addicted to, but let's just be less strict about the description. Let's just say we have a way of life nga we are used to. Di ba, Bajaya?
Dependent na ta.
O, kaning klase sa panginabuhi, mo ni atong naandan. Di ba? So, dili ta makausab diha dayon. We cannot change immediately just because of something.
Just a scare.
The scare of a price hike of fuel, right? So, kana siyang butanga diha, lisod kay na siya i-adjust. So, in many ways, ang ato ang mga moves really depends on the price of fuel. Now, of course, we all know the reason why there's a fuel price hike. It's because of the war in the Middle East, di ba?
Yeah.
It's Israel versus the United States. I'm sorry, Israel and United States versus Iran, di ba?
Yeah.
Murag gitabangan ni ang Iran sa Israel o sa United States, di ba? And I think what prompted the massive price hike, because I think this is the highest price hike in living memory as far as I can remember. I don't remember any price hike na abot og 20 pesos in just one go. Taas kini siya nga price hike. Yun was kaning more og exacerbated because I think the Iranian leadership just is the word elected, appointed the son of the Ayatollah, di ba? So mura siya instead of the result of an attack being surrender or kaning murag ilahang minimize ang ilahang mga actions, they elected or they put as their new leader the son of the Ayatollah. That means nga it's like an act of defiance ba nga imbes mo surrender mi, imbes atong ipreno, no, this is a kind of act of defiance. So murag ang kalibutan ni react kibaw na ka sa mga ekonomista kanang mga geopolitical experts nga kibaw mo sila. One thing leads to another because of all of the information that they have. They know nga the reaction of the market will be such and such, so they react a certain way. More baga self-realizing prophecy ba? Nga everybody thinks that everybody. I remember there's a new book now.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah.
There's a new book now. One of my favorite authors, Steven Pinker, who wrote Our Better Angels. He's the guy who proposed.
Yeah.
Things are actually getting better now if we look at big history.
Yeah.
There's less war, less suffering. People are our age, our longevity, our the age that we die has increased by leaps and bounds. In the first world, murag abot nag 78, 70, even 80. Here in the third world, siguro 77. Ano bitaw murag ato ang life expectancy taas na and all that stuff.
Yep.
He wrote a new book.
What's the new book?
His book is When Everybody Knows That Everybody Knows, which is a very interesting book. Ang pasabot niya na nga kung kibaw ka, nga kiibawang tanan, nga mo ni may tabo, mo na ibuhaton sa tanan. Kasabot ka? When everybody knows that everybody knows. So, pareha ra gud ko ng example. Ang example gihatag niya kanang katong emperor's new clothes ba nga.
Yeah.
It took a child to tell the emperor that he has no clothes, right?
Yeah.
Everybody saw the emperor, right? But walay isog enough to utter the words ba. Kay emperor hadlok ko, but a child is innocent, right?
Right.
So ni point out ang child nga, hey, the emperor has no clothes.
It took a child to be
now
able to express that. Yeah.
Now, everybody thought it was just a secret. Sekreto ra to nila nga, buhay sa nina ang emperor. Pero paglitok sa bata, ni katawa ang tanan or ni react ang tanan, pasabot, everybody knows that everybody knows. Kakuan ka? So muna, I think this is a part of that also nga. Kibaw man tatanan nga kung naigubat, this is how the market will react. So we're gonna do the same thing. So everybody will do the same thing. So ang pagpresyo, ang pagsaka sa presyo sa gasolina, wala magay gasoline petroleum company nga maingon nga dili ko pasakas ako ang gasolina, di ba?
Yeah.
Sakas la tanan because they know what this will result in. Everybody will start jacking up their prices of fuel. Ikaw ba, Jaya? What are your thoughts on all of this? Because kanang gasolina ba, it looks very simple ba? Simple kay ba nga gasolina, but we don't know, like, it's such a complicated, even the simple the what we think is a simple process of making the fuel is actually very complicated. Just the refining of the fuel is already complicated in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
Pag human, so ilabot gubat kung ano na mo, but we all know nga most of the fuel, although there are some sources in other parts of the world, including China and Taiwan, di ba? I think a few percentage points of our fuel actually we get from Asia, and only 20% is from the Middle East. But what I'm saying is, komplikado kayo ng fuel ba? It looks very simple. And an even bigger question siguro, which we will probably tackle earlier, how did we get here in the first place? Di ba? Ang suspitya is the invention of transportation, the invention of the car, the vehicle, di ba? So maybe it all began there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Bay? I know this is too much of a introduction, but
No, it's okay.
but
We need that.
what are your thoughts, Bay? I'm just trying to lay the groundwork ba. Ang atong topic karon is addiction to fuel. How did we get here in the first place?
I'd like to take on the part that you mentioned, the book. Everybody knows that everybody knows. So who's taking advantage that everybody knows that everybody knows?
Everybody.
So it's just that question ba, because na habituate naman gud nato the way we go to the gas station. It's like it's part of life. And ngutana ka nga whatever it is that you are asking now, and that in line with our addiction to the fuel, if we look at it, magsugod ta sa how do we get from point A to point B? And for me, who's into the fitness industry, the wellness industry, mo biya nagay usa ka cause why the decline of health kaning gitawag og kanang the mga modernized nations, because they missed out on the very part that, let's say we go back to basic, but the main fuel is our fuel. Ato ang energy that we're using. And as simple as going from point A to point B could be a walk away or a kick on the pedal with your bike. And that's why kining, when we are facing this situation na right now we're affected greatly with the fuel costs. Yan, nagiskot ko tayo kanina, Jiggy Juice nga. Pisag mo tubil. Ako, honestly, makita pit ako ever since before paning the fuel what do you call this, the
Fuel crisis.
crisis we're facing right now. What took you ko aning usa ka gas station kay dako siya difference from the other mainstream gas stations, mga diferensya siya 5. So ato ko linya dito, ato jud ko like nayusahay good na napuno na siya, but I'm not all the time maglinya-linya.
What particular brand of gasoline station are you talking about? Like,
I'm talking about compared to mainstream, ang kani siyang particular brand.
Na de alternative day nga gas station day.
Tagang kayo, come on. Ikaw suki mo kaning mainstream brands, Chicky Juice.
Actually, ang ako ang suki sa gasolina is I think Petron. Kaya medyo bubarato gid sila tanan.
Mo ba?
Shell is very expensive.
They very are.
And Caltex also is very expensive.
Yeah.
So ako magud, I'm not a fuel expert, but I have friends in the fuel industry. And I still don't get a straight answer but when it comes to the quality of fuel ba. So I don't really know if cheaper means like bad fuel and expensive means like
they have
better fuel. I don't know anything.
Well,
about
they
that,
have a lot of story about it.
Exactly.
And I don't believe that, because it's like you're telling us that they're the ones that are getting dirty fuel and you're the ones getting clean fuel. But you do know that they pay a lot about marketing and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So sorry, I was interrupting your point.
No.
So mopalit ka og fuel kanang mga dili sa big 3.
Not the big 3. But I also choose those that are kaya nakakuha magugug ka ng usa ka post about when you buy fuel, you go to a place which is frequented more. Because that means that you're getting fresh, kind of like replenished fuel all the time. Somehow it's like kusog ang turnover sa ilang fuel means that they get new supply all the time. That means that you don't get the residue, you don't get the old stale stuff that you get from like the bottom out.
So kanading fuel di ay mahupas din na de.
Uy, mahupas na. I mean, I got that from sa akong motor where I get to put on new gas labaw nagdugay mo paandar. Have you heard about that? Juice ka ng motor na to, like, makabantay ka na moingon ng mga tao nga panos ng maning nga gasolina.
Correct.
They say things about that. So it
Correct.
means we also have stale gas. We also have like spoiled gas already or like expired gas. But somehow it's the way we go with that habit of going into the gas stations to get a refill. And the money akong point nga gi-share karon lang is mutlin niya ako ng baraton bisag makabarato lang kog mga 3 pesos. Because I feel like makasave ko gasolina. And then I didn't really think about it na ni usahay mo mulihay ko atong mainstream kay mahal na kay siya bisag di kayo daghag tao dito. What do you ko musuot-suot pa ko, we go to the corner to go find that particular gas station nga ganahan ko because makasave ko og 2 pesos and I had to go out of my way or 3 pesos. The thing about it is that looking at now what happened is then it went other way around, right? And ni Saka nagmayo. And I mean, of course, we go for
What do you mean by other way around?
I mean, it's not really the other way around, but it's more like
Pareharag presyo tanan. Even the so-called alternative brands that you're talking about,
Right
taas
now.
na po kay presyo po.
di taas sila, but then they're still lower than the mainstream brands.
Yeah.
They're not gonna reach that high.
So it's possible nga they're also selling older fuel, di ba?
Definitely. I mean, they're selling their own fuel, the same Magyapok supplies. But the way I see everybody, the connection to the addiction is that we're really up in the scare. We're now in that commotion, and we're lining up. Di ba gahapon? Di ba na stuck up ka gahapon?
Yeah, I actually left late at night thinking because
Mamingaw na.
during the day, taas ng linya.
Lagi.
When the news hit that the prices of gas would be increased by so much, right?
Yeah.
So ang gabi na ni kay kaning mga basig mga tao,
Nakakitaw,
mga
nakakitaw.
tog ni alas 10 kunigawas balay bay.
Asayo pa kayo ng alas 10.
Puno ang gyapon kay sanan bay kun naunsa man ni lagutan ako ganoon na kumatog lang ko. I mean like I think my health is more important than saving a few hundred pesos mangali if ever.
That's
So
right,
that's what I
yeah.
was thinking about nga, you know, like maglinya-linya pa ko diri, magandar pa akong sakyanan, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe kung hanaon nimo may pag natog na lang ko ginansa
Illogical.
ginansa pagmuta, di ba? Di ba usahay?
Ang uban matog yun diya sa gas station. Na uban mo yun maghigda-higda diya niya. You know, it's not that you're gonna be staying there for like how many minutes. You're gonna stay there for a few seconds.
Yeah.
And so on. So,
So ang atong mga kaigsuonan nga naminaw nato karon o nananaw sa ato ang programa karong buntaga.
Yeah.
Daghang salamat. Good morning you guys.
good morning!
Magandang umaga po. Welcome to Top of the Morning. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice. Right across me is By Jaya and maayong
yeah.
buntag ni Lizelle Riola na ay natay mga tigpaminaw nga mura di ko kasabot aning lingwahe By Jaya. Mura man ni ganing
Isa mo lang.
Vietnamese mo siguro ni unsa ba ni? Lolito Delantar, Suki, Lyra Portrias. Daghang salamat. Thank you so much. If you want to join our conversation, please, okay? Pitch in lang. Atong gisgutan karong buntaga, karong adlaw is our addiction to fuel and how we can perhaps kaning navigate through this crisis, because I think this is going to be a full-blown crisis if the war in the Middle East is not going to stop, right? If it's going to continue to escalate.
Yeah.
Diba? Ang hope na to manggod was ang bombahan nila ang Iran niya humana dayon, di ba? Pero ang gibuhat sa Iran is ang ilang gi-fight nga kind of war is gitawag nila ang atog asymmetrical war. Di man sila ka bildigid sa United States. Di man sila ka bahog-bahog sa Amerika in terms of arsenal, di ba? In terms of weapons. So gibuhat nila ilang gipangtirahan ang mga allied nations. Nag-cause sila wreak and havoc sa Dubai, sa Saudi Arabia and all that stuff, right? So naitabuan na nagagubot na sad ang Middle East and all of that and ni-escalate pag elect nila o appoint nila og usa ka anak sa the Ayatollah. So ni-escalate yun ang ato ang peace and order situation sa kalibutan. So ang naitabo is mo na nisaka ang ato ang presyo sa gasolina. So if you want if you want to join our conversation, please pitch in and tell us how we can even begin to talk about this. Kay lahi masugod bay kanang kanang bitong reactionary rata. Kanang mo react lang ta sa usa ka butang because of our herd mentality. Kanang mo linya kay anong linya man ka kay para makasave ko gasolina. Linya man kay si kuan gali si katong naka Porsche Ako na inuon nga nagkagang-kagang niya akong sakyanan, mo linya ako samot ko, di ba? And all of that stuff, di ba? So
na mo na nitabog.
so herd mentality ba? So but it's not like it's an illusion that the prices of gas are so high. And it's
Of course
also
not.
and it's also
Absolutely not.
and it's also not stupid to think that you know that the prices of everything will increase, right? Presyos bugas, presyos
Yes.
pliti. So dili man siguro ka buang siguro nga mo react in a certain way. There is some logic to lining up, right? To behaving a certain way when a crisis of this magnitude erupts in some part of the world. Right? Dili man sad ka ingon nga sayop ka, di ba?
Of course. Dili ka sayop. You're actually reacting at first it would be the herd mentality because everybody's doing the same, but somehow it relates to affected yung tanan. Ang atong bugas, atong pagkaon, and atong mga ginapalit, mga everything, our supplies are very, very much affected. Mula to, I was talking about earlier, Jiggy Juice nga, it's not related only to just going from point A to point B, but it's also, this is where I come from, about trying to sustain yourself with what you have. Kaning pagkaon, di ba? O somebody got affected. I'm trying to look at how we feed ourselves. Di ba? It's not just a point A, point B thing that you get to, get affected about this. Ang usap po na akong nakita is, ang atuang supply sa atong pagkaon. Are we always reliant on the supply we're getting from, of course, the suppliers of our food sources, right? The markets, everywhere, the supermarkets and so on. How about us? How about our own environment? How about our own location? How do we kind of like, because the point that I'm trying to make here is the addiction, our dependence on this certain
Commodity. Fuel, oh.
Because right now we're on that hype. Definitely we're not hype of that scare, and we're generally affected. I'm not saying that we should not be affected. We're generally affected. So I'm trying to point out some of the things in my mind nga ngano day kaning kamunggay rin ako sa balay. Would it you dili din mo makakapakaon ako?
Pwede mo siguro na ba? I mean, like, I understand where you're going here. You're saying we can plant our own food. But
yes, of course.
See, the thing is, number one, real estate land is a very scarce resource, diba? Especially in the city, di ba?
We can actually do vertical garden.
Dili maka basta-basta ang tanom-tanom sa imuhang garden, di ba?
We can still have.
But kanang imuhang gihisgutan nga vertical garden sad.
Yeah.
Number one, not everybody knows how to vertically farm, right? Number one. Number two, and I think I can imagine vertical farming because we actually interviewed a few people there who are the biggest vertical farmers in Cebu, if not the Philippines, katong sa Sugod.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very complex and very labor intensive, di ba? Kung magtanom ka para sa imong kagulingon, amo na imong panginabuhi siguro, hindi na ka wala siguro kay panahon mo trabaho. So mo nang gibuhat na to make
self-sustaining siguro.
To make life easier for us, di ba? Imbis ako, kaning manager ko sa usa ka kompanya, ganahan ko makasave, di ko mag-hire og janitor Ako na lang mo hire.
Then you tend to fire people.
Or ako na lang ma-hire og janitor. Di ba? Pag human, your task is to create the plan, to create the vision of your company.
Yeah.
Nabisi na nakagpanilhig yun diha, di ba?
Yeah,
so mag-hire ka og kuan, mo save ka og mo gasto ka pipila ka peso sa imuhang resources so that you can focus on what you're good at, right? Because they say it's better to hone the skills that you're good at than to improve on something that you're bad at or you're not good at. Mas napaka-impact ba nga ang imuhang skill set is, let's just say, this particular skill set that the world needs and versus imuha pang needs improvement pa imuhang this particular skill set, murag mas dugay imong panahon nga igahin to improve that defect or kaning disparity to rise up to the level nga you can make it a living also, and focus on the thing that you're good at. So mo na siya by Jaya nga dili ta mananom sa ato ang pwede mo siguro technically,
but we have you apply a system that works.
Naaman may kamunggay sa mo ang sa mo ang balay, pero mo dili ka kamunggay lang kada adlaw, di ba?
Ako kaong kamunggay kada adlaw.
Ano, pero what
I'm just saying ba nga, permaculture man na sa Jiggy Juice, kanang you don't have to tend to it every single time. Like they grow on their own.
Mamatay man abay.
You tend to it a few minutes. There's only a specific amount of time you just tend to. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be the farmer. You're going to be working on it.
But you need skills for that, right? You need skills for that. And farming is actually, it looks simple, but it's actually complicated, right?
So you learn that.
So
hindi siya massive,
Oh.
Di man siya dinagko.
Yeah, so nag-focus ka sa imuhang farming.
Yeah.
Sa imong trabaho nimo nabiyaan. So ningilingig na ka og farming pero wala na kay trabaho. So saan lang ko kada adlaw lang ko mupalit mukaon og kamunggay ni.
Yeah, but of course you don't want to go for labor-intensive nga mga tanom-tanom. You want na kanang tanom nga would thrive on its own. Like say example, I'm looking at the potted, the vertical ones, because honestly, I just moved into a new house. I'm starting to adapt. I'm starting to set it up. So wishful thinking pa ko karon. Ang anaara gyud nako available is kamunggay. And then I also have a planted kanang gitawag nimo og kaning nindot kani share sa mga tao. But anyway, this is going out of the topic anymore. But still fuel, This is the fuel that I need.
Mo lagi ang imong logic is because the prices of food will increase if the prices of fuel will increase.
Right.
Because it takes fuel to transport food from one point to another, di ba?
Yeah.
So imong solution, at least one of the solutions that you propose is magtanom tag kamunggay ug utanon sa ato ang backyard, oy. So the counter argument to that is, of course, di man ka maayo mo farming. So imong maayo man ka mag DJ, maayo man ka mo
DJ.
Maayo man ka mo broadcast, di ba? Broadcaster ka, media man kuno ka, di ba?
Yeah.
So moari na lang ka sa kawan sa imong istasyonan para ang imong impact sa kalibutan mas dako, mas maanindot, di ba? Kaya mo gud na imong skill set, di ba? Imbis ka mananom man ka sa imong backyard para makakaon ka, manrabaho na lang ka, maghimo na lang ka kaning manrabaho na lang ka sa usa ka butang nga maayo ka para nakikwarta para ipalit og kamunggay sa imong silingan, di ba? Di ba?
Support ka silang kuan nila
So mo na logic
industry.
Sa nga dili kaayo nga that's why I mean, if it worked, then people would be doing that on a large scale, diba? On a mass scale. But it's not working because farming supposedly is a very specialized skill set.
That's true. But the thing that I'm trying to put out here, Jiggy Juice, is kunang namo ko yung mga tao good nga, like literally naglisod jud. And the way I want to put out is that they can actually lessen their misery. Kumbaga, like right now, if you're part of the hype, if feeling ni mo na affected kay ka, because everything will rise up, then you always have a choice. Instead of being part of that hype or the bandwagon na nahitabo karon, because everything is bandwagon anyway. Like the herd mentality, when you go to that, then that you're already part of the bandwagon. Because you saw that linya sila ka. No, the thing is, gamay ra magugay kag na save good. Actually, wag you kay na save.
Unsa man ibuhaton niyo ba? Unsa man ibuhaton niyo ba? Ikaw ba nga regular citizen like most of us. Unsa man ibuhaton niyo? What do you do if there's a like a crisis in the Middle East that will greatly affect the prices of fuel and everything will just skyrocket? Kibaw ka na, you know that. So ikaw, what do you do?
We have to really work on self-sustaining communities. Good. Mo ba na I'm starting this conversation, the way I'm putting out an idea right now, is because I'm not going to point out only permaculture per se. I think everybody is aware. I mean, not all, but some of you already knows what permaculture is. Kumbaga, as it is, everything will thrive. And then an environment that would feed you, muna ako ang ganahan i-point out in the open is that we could always have a way of sustaining ourselves. Labo na inaning ang mga situations war that's generally affecting us, na somehow the supplies are gonna be held up and the costs will go high. What if we can always have our own ways of just sustaining ourselves? Mo lang na akong point ba, like point A to point B travel, maybe go mobility, use your bicycle, if you have solar panels, mo naman yung nagawa siguro. Everything's available right now if we want to try to go do that part of, the lens that I'm actually looking at. So that's where I stand.
So for example, imo ang example nga gihatag, bisikleta ka, di ba? Instead og mo gamit ka og usa ka sakyanan, a mode of transportation that requires you to buy fuel, di ba?
Yeah,
Max?
yeah.
So di ka ma-insulate ka sa fuel increase, di ba? Pero ini bisikleta na mo, kadto mo sa merkado ang presyo sa utanon isaka man sad. So imo ang pag-save na, ka-save ka gamay pero you'll still feel the
Definitely.
the-
For
the-
some items, yeah.
the impact of the war in the Middle East, the
Yeah,
price of fuel increasing.
Yeah.
Kunya ikaw sad, you're at a disadvantage kay number one, ang imuhang mga kauban nga nanrabaho o naa sila'y negosyo or whatever, entrepreneur sila, naa sila'y kagulingon lang negosyo, mag-una og abot nimo. Diba? So ikaw nawahi ka niya, iabot mo gipaningot na ka.
Yeah.
Wata ka ba natapsingan pa juga og ganing sakyanan, di ba? Naunsa ka, di ba? So kabot mo na kansi na ka.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
So more about the race mentality ba?
yes.
Di ba? So kung nanrabaho lang ka, nagbisikleta ka, inikabot nimo dito, kansi na ka kay kapoy naman ka.
ako lang take na, Jiggy, is that I'm in for this types of lifestyle. This type of lifestyle is really meant for Philippines. Like, there are people like you and everybody else who can afford to pay gas for their car, but to be honest, not all will be able to afford their cars.
Correct.
That's the truth, man.
I understand.
I want to
that, yeah.
slap this out to the rest of our citizens here. Kay di mo gud tanan tao magka-maintain og sakyanan, to be honest with you, man.
Correct. I understand that.
Aside from that, you cannot buy the gas all the time, right? Because that's causing you to lose some, and then you don't know that in the long run, dako na kay kag nagasto. Niya mo na nay nakapuno sa imuhang or mo na nakakuha sa imong cut sa imong
expenses. Oh, naka-increase ang mga
significantly
expenses.
dako gyud. In fact, 0-0 kamo nang result nimo mag-utang-utang ka. So this is the mentality that the Filipinos in general have.
Yeah.
And that's why this type of lifestyle,
So what's the solution?
this type of lifestyle can actually attend to that, which they can. I'm not saying that this is the solution.
What lifestyle are you talking about?
Kaning lifestyle that we have to start learning to sustain ourselves and then be practical. Kaning imong gingon nga, well, that would go for some people, like, if they're working in the office, but this is not for most.
Let's just say
Not everybody is
no.
a manager.
When I think about what you said, I don't think about executives or presidents. I'm talking about regular workers when I think about that.
Yeah.
Katong uban mag-jeepney, maabot sila una, di sila
Right.
gipaningot, was sila
Yeah,
kapoy,
yeah.
ikaw gikapoy na ka. So what happens to you is you have
Mas maabot og una ang bisikleta, oy.
less resources in your less brain power and less physical power because kapoy naman kag bisikleta ka, especially hard labor ang imong trabaho, di ba?
Let me talk to the bikers about it.
oh.
Like, I don't usually, but I've done that sometime. It's good for the heart. There are a lot of good perks about it.
I agree.
It's good for your health. There's a risk though of your life, but if you become practical, you try to look at how do you drive safely in the road.
Yeah, that's another
That's
issue.
another story.
That's another story.
Yeah,
But what
yeah.
I'm saying ba is, inig-abot mo dito, because your job requires your body to work, you're a worker, alkansin lagi ka. Lagi kay katong imuhang kauban, bagong pamahaw, wala silang bisikleta, wasa ni hago, o niya pagkuman sa ilang utok, medyo mas sharp sila, o niya ilang panglawas, mas healthy, di ba? Niya, makatrabaho sila og mas efficient siguro. Maybe
Right, yeah.
they will, kung permiho na,
Uh-huh.
I suspect, but I could be wrong. Kung permiho na mapromoto ang humot niya katong gipaningot igabot ni didto nga gikagibisikleta bahog init, bahog abog, bahog
Yeah.
kini sa singot. Maybe madugay to siya og promote. I don't know.
In line with what I'm talking about,
Oh.
mas healthy tong tao that are using their body. They're actually getting a gym workout that is very functional.
Yeah.
And very practical along the way when they're about to go to work.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't. Another thing,
I agree with that.
they don't have to pay for the gym.
Correct.
Which these people who di mo giingon nga wa kay gisingot,
No, wala sila gisingot padong
dito sa baho.
pero inig trabaho nila paningkot man sila.
Panington
So
sila.
this is a physically intensive we're talking about like it's say panday,
Yeah.
panalitan, di ba? So katong panday na lang.
It's a-
Construction worker na lang. Katong panday nga bisikleta,
Yeah.
hago na kayo, bay.
That not necessarily.
No,
Because they're working a different
No,
body part man.
we're talking about science now ba? Kung
Yeah.
nag-expand, nagamit ko calories,
Calorie burn doesn't necessarily mean that you're
kung
basically tiring yourself
our
out.
humans, the human Homo sapiens or any life form for that matters,
Yeah.
source of energy is calories, di ba? Is food, di ba? So kung nagbisikleta ka padong didto versus wa ka bisikleta padong didto, kay pareha man mo physical man yung trabaho, di ba?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you get your workout already. Just like the middle class or the executives workout, gym workout, whether you bike or not, because your job involves your body. Panday ka, kargador ka, whatever, right? So yung abot mo dito, mas maayo ka, mas daghan kag bugas nga makarga, mas daghan kag kaning langsa nga madukdok because you come in fully energized. Diba nagmangapi ka, di ba? So katong usa ka tawo nga gikapoy nga kada adlaw ga bisikleta, mas less ang iyahang production.
Samot pa nga that kada adlaw sila na bisikleta. This is what you call acclimatization and their threshold.
I think you're missing missing what I'm saying.
No. I completely understand what you're saying.
Everybody works out, even those that don't use bicycles.
I know.
Because they're also exerting much effort.
I know.
So pareha sila in terms of murabag kung sa gym pa, wala lang ni siya nag-treadmill o nag-bicycle.
Right,
Kuhan lang iya ka, weights lang iya. That's what I mean.
I'm just pointing out because I live with these people.
Yeah.
And I did bike before. Di lang dito inaanak ka frequent like what they have. But if you ask them, if you just get to ask them, try asking them, how's your energy? After and before and after your work.
Okay.
Because you bike to work. Maning a group of good bike to work man sila.
Yeah. I actually tried to do that during the pandemic. Anyway, continue.
Diba? And we did try that.
Yeah.
Now the thing here is that katong mga na customize na like acclimatize na ilang body to bike to work. I don't think you get that like kapoy na mga ko. Unless they live really far out. Like nagyugid na lang kilometers plus napay saka na where I come from. Kay musaka gyud
na may bisikleta ka ba dong sa tops?
Kani grabe na gini kataas, but where I live, Jiggy Juice, it's also almost the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very much depending. It varies at the same time.
Pero the proof is always in the the correct expression is the proof is always in the eating of the pudding. Kung nindot yung ganing magbisikleta ka, ano man nga sa China atong una there was a time nga puros magbisikleta ang tao karong wala naman na because of ni angat na ilahang ekonomiya, di ba? Diri sa Pilipinas kung nindot pag yun ang mo bike, ako mismo I told you during the pandemic bisikleta ko pero niundang ko kay there's so many factors nga you have
good during that time.
There's so many factors nga
safety.
Nga what is no longer there during the time nga the pandemic makabisikleta kay gamay ra sakyanan and all of that stuff, and then you know the nobody's in the office so you can smell like the sun and smell like the dust and all of that stuff kay wa may tao, di ba? Pero lahi ba na kung nana kay office mates or nana kliyente nga mapagkita kasi mo kagalingon, you cannot look like crap, right? So ang akong pasabot is by jaya kung imo ang suggestion nga magbisikleta ta panalitan that specific suggestion nimo kumayo pa na siya prevalent na siya daghan na ta kay nagbisikleta karon pero wa man ngano.
I want to go back to the Japan. I was just sorry, China. Example nimo. They did bike and then aside from their weather, kay medyo bugnaw sila, na weather nila nga nindot. Ang ako alang nakita is they did bike. A lot of them patronized biking.
Yeah, years ago.
But it took,
decades ago.
But it took them from that point, because they did try, to where they are now. That means that for us to get to a little, or let's say a good, progressive life in our country, we need to start doing stuff that we need to also get to see results later on. Ang ako am ko nakita is,
so are you saying
naglabaw mo na to
you're suggesting because nagbisikleta ang kadaghanan sa China anya tong una that's a result
it contributed
of where they are now because
it
they were
contributed.
para nakulahi mo ang Chinese society because they live in a socialist, communist society,
Aside
di ba?
from that economical
Oh,
structure, yeah.
Paghuman kaning mura og more or less that's more I would venture in saying, although a lot of people can disagree with me and we can have that discussion some other time, it's a more equitable society in the sense nga murag ang although you can observe nga ang China actually daghan na sa kay mga dato, daghan na
Yeah.
kay mga milyonaryo dito.
Uh-huh.
Pero their economic and their political structure is created in such a way nga mura og more equal ba. Kaya
Yeah.
ato ang atong capitalist man gud nga structure is different from that.
Bunog yun kayo. If
Oh.
you're really down, you're really gonna stay down and
Yeah.
you're gonna be squeezed
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
Anyway, ang aqua lang sa relationship atong biking, and it did contribute to where they are now because now they improved a lot of their pedestrian and at the same time their public utility vehicle.
Correct. Oh.
Aside from them being that economic structure, dito sila naka-develop more kay nga naman makita man nila ang mga tao nga naggamit sa road. And then kato mga tao that are dependent on the public utility, it's not more about just following bandwagon and just fancying themselves with what is the desire of this and that. Ang ako lang yung nakita that's gonna attend to this conversation about fuel addiction is that this is very related to where we are now because our addiction is caused by the convenience that we really desire to have because this is actually what is being portrayed to our media. All right? Portrayed by our media.
What do you mean?
Kana we need to have a car. Tanawa ko nang always being advertised in our, in our television. And even on our media, in the social media, it's always advertised you need to have this type of new car.
But Jaya, that's everybody. I mean, like
Yeah.
you're when I'm looking at you right now, like people are kaning blaming other people about certain things nga they don't do, but in another way they do the same thing but in a different form, shape and form. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Mura bag kaning the word is hypocrites ba?
Right.
Because again, back to that Steven Pinker precept, everybody knows that everybody knows. So ikaw, kung panalitan, ganahan ka nga, magbahag lang ka, di ba? Ato lang, take it to a extreme example. Kung dili ba na magbahag ang society karon magpalit ba nagsanina gyud, di ba? Magkasunis ba sugol lang ka, mas barato maning bahagod niya kaning daan akong bahag kaning ako lang gigamit akong bahag sa ako ang lolo niya gamito na ko karon, di ba?
Yeah.
But that's not how society works, di ba? You have to more blend in. You have to like para dili kay ka mauwawan siguro nga lahi ka. Magpalit ka karsonis, di ba? Right? So that's actually the same. That's the same concept.
I'm doing that right now. I'm doing that in my life. Like I agree with the blending in society, but ain't that supposed to be the purpose why we really have to pull people up, especially in this type of economy? Sa ato ang klase sa nasud nga pinot ni kay ka bunog ni kay ning mga tao nga naglisod. So ang ako lang is hatag og paglamdag ba. Give them a little bit of light where they don't have to go on misery. Di makakinahanglan nga, grabe nugi ka kay ang mentality. Swear ko adto province ba, adto kas province, samot pa gyud ang ilang mindset dito nga mao ra gining amo dong ana ba. Because you have a certain kanang benchmark nga mo na ang imuha ang successful, ang progressive, and para nimo you live in the life, man. You live in the life. You live like you have a view.
But they say ba
You
nga
have-
kanang information guna ba the truth
Right.
is inevitable. I mean, like, diba, there are societies nga medyo very subdued, diba? Nga dili nila ipasud ang, let's just say, Western social media, right? Ilang restrict ang ilang people nga only consume media about the nation. Pero ang mga tao mangita jud paagi.
Yeah.
Because there's always a way to find information outside of your shield, right? Your bubble, your world, di ba?
Yeah,
So,
curiosity.
kanang
curiosity.
mga di ba, for example, China, di ba, na may special TikTok sa China, na TikTok sa West, di ba?
Yeah.
The people in China can't see the TikTok of the West because they want to protect their people
Labo ng mga bata.
from the ideas of the West, di ba?
Right,
And all
yes.
of that stuff.
True,
Same goes for the whole entire world. The truth, ba, you can never hide the facts, the truth. Eventually, there will be a reckoning ba nga eventually may baogin ang tanan. So kanang tawhana nga nagpuyo sa usa ka sa probinsya, pananglitan,
Yeah.
I can bet you right now with most of my fingers, not all siguro para naipangingog mo, I'll leave one siguro. Nga
Yeah.
kanang probinsya bay, wala siguro yung tao or at least kadaghanan sa mga tao diya naanay cellphone oy. Naanay cellphone.
Oh, karon
Onya,
na.
si Lolo, ingon ka nga. Let's just say na sila way of being, murag di sila mo desire all of that stuff. Pagkakita ni Lolo nga puha di aning kuan no, kaning traktor raw, nga tong kabaw, pisting yaw ang kabaw ta diha nga dugay ka hago kay kuno palit ko ning traktor. Dong, asam tang palit ning traktor dong. Di ba? So palit kag traktor. So naka ni gawas na ang imong benchmark ni Saka na sa dili na ka mahimong magkabaw lang kaya magpalit na traktor para mas dili kay kahago. Kakawan ka? So kanang facts by information by eventually you can't stop information. So I get a sense by nga I know what you're trying to say and you're trying to protect that worldview ba because that's a beautiful worldview. I wish I was that man. Was not exposed to all of this kaning desires and all of the worldly things.
Yeah.
Mo nang di ba na may unsa nang religion ba yung kanang mga hermit kanang unsa na sila, what do you call them? Kanang without electricity and all of that, so no internet.
I think that's in North America.
What do you call those again? I forgot the term. Anyway.
Yeah, I forgot. But they're Jews and so on.
I wish I was that, but I wish I didn't know what I know now.
Yeah.
But I know what I know now, and I think there's a sense of inevitability. Ang akong tanaw ba? What are your thoughts on that, bay?
Well, I also know where you're coming from because I am also living the same way. I've been exposed to all these desires, even these material stuff I even have. But being with the basic form of society and your way, if you are just observing enough that you don't even have to really be affected that much. Ang ako alang gid is that where my sentiments are from, okay, I see magud that the greatly affected are the ones that are really on the lows. Okay, for them, they're gonna be the ones that are the main consumers of almost everything that's gonna be affected right now with this whole fuel scare, the crises that we're facing. And so, what else that whatever it is that I'm actually discussing and then airing out right now in the open is kinibitong our view of kanay mong gimension Jiggy Juice nga na exposed na ta, we have a lot of the availability and generally convenient na tanan, everything is within reach. And I look at the people that are in the province and I get to go there every now and then. And what are the aspirations of people who live in a more progressive state of society towards or compared to those that are living in a more rural, country level form of society? That's why I look at them and I actually bring myself into that moment where I'm living with them. And then here you go with people who are very much ambitious, progressive, and movers of the society, where eventually these people would kind of like go into a part of their life and then they talk to you sensibly and then you will hear, "Bay, nindutag ka ng simple."
Amish.
Yeah. Nindutag simple, ano, kanang atulan ta, nalang kay gamayng yuta ko, palit na ko tag yuta diya sa probinsya, nya mananom ta. And basically what they're talking about and they're trying to describe is the life that these people who live economically low, but then they don't get to appreciate what they have. You know what I mean? Mo na akong
kadaghanan sa akong kailang who talk like that.
Yeah.
Balit ng tagyuta dito sa kuan, kaning kuan lang retire ta dito, have already amassed enough wealth and resources to be able to afford that.
Yeah.
It sounds very gratuitous to me now listening to you saying mawalit. Pero kanabay, that feel na nibiyang yuta ron sa probinsya mismo, porti ng mahala, di ba? So
maybe not Cebu. Not Cebu.
Yeah, I'm talking about the province. Yeah, like
yeah.
mahal na kaysa na unya mananom ka rito. Like ikaw na nabaho ka for such a long time, yeah. So may kalibutan mo anang pananom, di ba? let alone kaning livestock ka, mamuhi kag kaning baboy unsa ba na diha, di ba? Dili na sayon oy nya paghuman like complicated ka na kanang baboy lang panalitan, di ba? Para konsumo like yung mga silingan, mga bugot-bot kay baho kay blah blah blah. It's too complicated, right?
Yeah.
So kanang pareha gud ang expression ba nga na musulti nimo nga kuyawa gyud ning badyayo way libog. Ang akong tubag na, I'm not talking about you in particular, but I'm just making you as an example. Ang tubag na ko na sa, somebody tells you that, kanang mga way libog ni Agi na nagkalibog. Mo na akong pasabot.
Ay lang isulti sa mga Tagalog, kay lahi man ang pasabot.
Oo, mo na siya. Pero akong pasabot is, kanang mga tawhanan nga, magsulti-sultian nga, mupalit kong yuta dito, mananom lang ta, to live a simple life. They've already lived a turbulent and perhaps very kaning capitalistic or they've already amassed enough resources to be able to even talk about that. To even talk about that, bro.
Yeah. Somehow, sila man good, like they've been there.
Yeah.
For these people who lives economically and then they get the peak of the desire of the progressive world, they feel so incomplete. And where Kanay mentioned that these groups of people have already achieved it or somehow have lived the convenience of the life.
They were already in the rat race.
They were already there.
So they want to get off of the hedonic treadmill, di ba?
Yeah, and I think that goes in life. Like we desire what we don't have. I think that's what it is. And
why do we desire what we don't have? I don't want you to give us a scientific explanation. I want you to give me your own interpretation. You being a practitioner of yoga and you're more awake than and more present than most people, including myself. You're more awake than I am. So ikaw ba, like why do we desire what we don't have? Don't give me the because we don't have it or that's human nature. What is your what is your
ako alang personal lang.
What's your take on that? Ngano man gyud? Ngano why do we covet kupuha sa iyahang yuta na daghang kamunggay, na daghang prutas ang ato adring atong yuta diri ang nitubo diri kay sagbot ra gyud. Why do you desire that when you should be happy with your sagbot? Or should you be happy with your sagbot?
Yeah. Truth is, I'm not really the more awake or whatever. Basta ako lang, akong point of view is because when you don't have the stuff that you're looking at, you wanted to just be part of that experience of being there. Experience of having that kinamot, right? Example lang Somehow, people would want to try something that they haven't been exposed to. The thrill of something new.
The novelty.
The novelty of it. So, mula na ako ang take. That's why I'm not also saying na ako na I'm trying to desire because I'm living in between. You're like I'm really not there with the wealth. I'm not really there yet.
What in
but
between?
I don't want to say that.
In between what? In between what do you mean?
In between the so-called class of society where the poorest of poor and then the wealthy. I'm just moving around, man. I'm just moving around here because I would always want to say to people that I'm a hacker, man. I would hack my way through. I don't want to be talking about it, but somehow it's like I don't have to desire so much. But
but so back to my question, like why do you think that is the case? Why is that?
With the desire of something that you don't have, mo gito nga niingon ko nga kanang bitong wa na nimo, kanang ka musuway.
So kuan lang siya, dili necessarily nga ganahan ka mubuhat niya
Not necessarily.
for a long period of time or for the rest of your life, right? It's just nga
depends on what really is.
Suway lang as the song would go, di ba? Suway tilaw-tilaw lang.
Tilaw
lang di ay niya. Kung lamian ka, kao na sad.
Kauyon ka, di na nakadiha.
Na di.
Di la basta di la ka maadik.
So mo na Sharon nga nagsuway-suway ta og kaning gamit o gasolina kay kaning para makaadto ta sa point A to point B faster supposedly. Now with traffic actually slower,
right?
Pag human kaning comfort of let's just say the air conditioning kay init kaayo, di ba? Comfort of a comfortable seat, wa kay tapad nga kaning baho or whatever, right? Humot kay abot nimo, di ba?
Yeah.
So tilaw-tilaw ron niya pag tilaw-tilaw na to na addicted ni nunta.
Mo na.
Dili ni nunta makalingkawas
Di na makalingkawas.
sa
sakto nga termino.
sa pagpatubil sa ato ang sakyanan kay lami man kayong feeling, di ba? Dili na inconceivable na nga ako maglakaw ko gikan sa Mandawi padong diri sa Taps.
Adi sa na pwede.
Manabuang,
Sa una siguro.
Oh, dili. Kapuya na nabuang kada
Sa
niya.
unang panahon siguro.
O niya paguman makakita ang mga tao nga luoy ang jigi kanang naglakaw na padong sa trabaho. So murag
Kana ba, no?
maluoy sila ba?
Kana no?
Luoy ni jigi si Bayjaya galakaw mura
Kana gyud.
naunsa ka ni si Bayjaya sana basig so
Ako, I really find that, I don't know, like, it's ridiculous where people think nga kung naglakaw, nagkalisod. Ako na ko'y amigo gid sa una Jiggy Juice nga, college pa mi. I see him walk, man. He's an engineer now. I until now, the guy still walks and I'm like very happy, but I saw him again after like almost 20 years siguro. Like, bay, gusto mo ka bay? Mauro mo itong mga naong ka ni bay? He walks, man. And he's an engineer. He does the boats. He checks on the radio frequency and all that stuff. But I see him it's like it's part of his life, and I kind of like I'm very happy to see him. And I didn't ask anything else. I didn't ask, "Wait, kumusta naman mo ba? Saan maka dato na kay ka?" Or ana. No, I'm just genuinely happy that I saw him. He aged a little bit, but it's like, by after 20 years, by inanig ya po itong lifestyle, mag-abot ya po ito, naglakaw ya po ka. Because I see him sa una,
so what's his answer?
Ang ihari good because what man say daghang kay istorya. I mean, people like him, or I don't know. I cannot say for all the people that I've met nga inani bitaw kugihan. Di kay ka makadungog og dagastorya like what I
Wala pa siguro sila nakakita nato Bayjaya. Wa pa sila nakahiagom sa ato mga pangutana. Kung napa sa atubangan nato ron, purti nang daghanan niyang mastorya siguro.
Basin. Kinahanglan na to ibutang sa kalugar and then we talk to them.
Anyway, so unsa may imong nakuha nga answer niya nga
Well,
nang imong amigo nga engineer na karon nga tung una antod karon maglakaw-lakaw lang gyud padung sa trabaho nila. Unsa may imong nagkuha nganong sige maglaklaw-lakaw.
Katoy mo gingo ba nga wa siya nahiagom sa atong agian ba nga. Ako ganahan kay kus motor, ganahan ko ginani nga motor, anani. Siya wa gyud siguro na ni come in sa iya ba. The desire bitaw.
Yung sa man niya.
No, because I didn't ask that part, but the way I see siguro
Okay.
is that he did not really have that desire and eagerness to get what the desire we had with the material thing, the addiction we have about it. So he just is satisfied with walking from point A to point B. Katong singot ngayon mo ingon nga abog, I think he's gotten over that because he's been doing that for so long. And ako sa nakita is naramabot siya puyo good sa Osmeña Boulevard likod.
So doon na po siya sa trabaho.
Doon na po siya sa Central.
Maybe
He's just around town.
Maybe he designed it in such a way he can walk to his workplace.
Yeah, I
right?
think
By the way,
he's just born.
Good day to Liam, Clyde, Ignacio, Edreca, Ariola, Fabian. Join us in our conversation about our addiction to fossil fuel, to gasoline, to diesel fuel, and whatnot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nga grabe kayo pag-increase sa presyo karon sa gasolina, and how we can't help but still use it because that's the only way we can operate to be able to go from point A to point B using our cars, using public transport, and so on and so forth, and also to power everything, right? Even if nanay kaning electric vehicles karon by Jai, diba? I think electricity is also going to increase because I think most of our electricity is also powered by I think coal and some of them are probably fuel, right? So a form of fuel, diba? So
Fuel.
ang atong
Electric
bill will also see a market increase very soon, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So tanan gyud ni saka even the price of electricity. So mo na siya nga I think it's about time for us to I think rethink the way society works, at least from our personal perspective ba.
Lagi. Yeah.
Diba? Kay kanang ato ang tendency to just follow the lifestyle of our neighbors, kanang keeping up with the Joneses, is probably not very very productive for you.
Not sustainable. Absolutely not sustainable.
Besides, lahi-lahi mo kita og mga pangandoy.
Mo na.
Dili man na mahimo nga tanan na lang nga butang sa imong silingan naa ka, di ba? Lain man tag naabtan sa atong kinabuhi, lain tong swerte, di ba? Yeah, lain sa tag mga pagtuo. So dili na siguro kaayo helpful and productive for you if whatever you see on social media,
Yeah.
ganahan din ka nga, ganahan ko ng cellphone no,
Napod ko.
high-tech na sanan.
Yes, I have to adapt. I
Oh.
have to keep up.
Oh. Pero na mo lagi ba na manggoy perception, or I think it's also partly perception, partly a reality, nga kung wala ka ng usa ka butang nga instruments of progress, of communication, instruments of transportation, instruments to help you with your daily life, na perception, and whether it's true or not is up for discussion. That's why I want to bring it up. For example, kada lang cellphone ba gratuitous and murag simple lang na siya, but murag unnecessary kaayo siya paminahon, di ba? Kung mapalit ka og cellphone nga baratuhon, naturalmente ang imuhang pictures bati sa, di ba? Kung ni-appeal na ka aning gitawag nila og social media economy, alkansi na ka. Kaya imo ang picture bati. So ikaw, although siguro kaning mahalan ka,
Yeah.
pero may pagmapalit nila kag nindot nga telepono kay para mas nindot akong picture nga ma-post, unya mas makatabang sa ako ang panginabuhi. Maybe you need to promote something. You're not necessarily probably earning from social media, but your social media is your way to promote your product or services, or maybe even to promote yourself as a person, right? So kansi na ka. So na perception ba whether it's true or not is up for discussion, but na perception nga if you don't keep up with the Joneses, if you don't keep up with your neighbors, na kay disadvantage, not just perceived disadvantage, but real practical disadvantages. What are your thoughts on that? Sama na ba Jai? Sama nang tanan riya ba Jai?
I was trying to just check the call. Okay. Anyway, I just told them na I'm on the show.
Okay. Anyway.
Ako ning gamay, ang may titoy ma.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So anyway, can you repeat your Jigs, the question that you asked?
Oh, I didn't have any I didn't have any question. Anyway, continue. Like
the idea that we're trying to run into.
If you guys want to join our conversation, please just post it on our socials. Zin Zhao Min. Daghang salamat sa inyo pagtana. Mano Bangalore. Kuya kini ato mga viewers ug kaning kaning mga fans na to murag tagalain-lain ning part sa kalibutan. And this is one of those things ba nga is so interconnected. We're so dependent on fossil fuel that tanang tao sa tanang lugar sa kalibutan is experiencing the same thing. Mura ba ning pandemic ba?
Yeah.
So this is a global economic crisis. Now, all of the prices of fuel all over the world have increased dramatically, and it will definitely affect their lives, right? Even our friends in the first world, in Europe, in the United States, right? Mura og even progressive countries, especially in the Middle East, kanang Dubai nga grabe kay nakadato unta to, di ba?
Yeah.
Affected
Right now, heavily affected.
Kay gibombahan
Duol Manila. Yes, sila gibombahan.
Iran ug una, di ba?
Lagi.
So kaning if you want to join in the conversation, please pitch in. Just maybe you can post it on our social media.
Yeah.
At Tops Media Center on Facebook, on YouTube.
We're live
Si
right now.
Tonton is watching. Daghang salamat sa inyong pagtanaw. Kaya atong isgutan karong buntaga is our addiction to fossil fuel. By Jai, nakipangutanan na mo ba? Ikaw magyud magpirmi mo ka. You're the type of person that always looks back at the pre-colonial era, and you're more familiar with our way of living back then, right? Imong tanaw ba? Kani nga to ang desire to improve, a desire for a better life. Would it have led us to the same direction? Let's just say granting we didn't invent the wheel, pananglitan, or some major invention of history. Because kaning parang ako magud ang wheel is a precursor to the car, di ba? And the car, of course, requires fuel, right? So murag, do you think we would still have gone to the same trajectory if we didn't invent something like a wheel? Padung gyapon ta ni ani nga ang ato this is something that's also
In a crisis or something? Yeah.
no, but that we're addicted to fuel.
Okay.
Is this something that's also as inevitable as the truth, as inevitable as kaning information nga we will have access to the truth eventually? Maybe it's just a matter of time scale na lang bang makauna ta nag, but eventually we will know most of the truths in the world. Kaning atong addictions of fossil fuel, was this inevitable? Did we as a species make the wrong choices? That's why we are in this dilemma of addiction, or could we have made different choices back then? Would have led us to a different, perhaps better trajectory, or it could have been worse. And this is actually the best case scenario. This is I'm asking you.
Ako matubag.
I'm asking you to look back
from my
from your lenses, to look back
yeah.
and then place us what could have been.
We are the navigators, the master navigators. We've utilized the waterways.
We meaning
Our nation, our ancestry,
Okay.
our ancestors. We've basically mastered the craft of sea vehicles and vessels, I would say.
Mhm.
And we know how to use the free energy already way back. We use the wind
wind, yeah.
for our sail. We use
Water?
water, the tides. We are aware of that. Muna nga, if you look at the past, if you really know, if we go back to who we really are, and you ask if it would have been better or it would have been worse,
Did we make the wrong choices? That's why
we
are.
definitely we definitely made a wrong somehow choice at the same time, because as a leader then the guy who was there before, Raja Humabon, did really accept the conquistador in a way that he just did not look at the future. He did not really have that lens, maybe possibly, you know.
Yeah.
And so for me, if we go back to our ways of using energy and the relationship we have, we're much free energy way before that. And we could have done more progressions out of it. We could have been the first one who mastered and harnessed more free energy systems and all the mechanisms going around it. So sa ako lang, akong point of view is more on, I could see the roads that we have right now much more clear, clean, and we're all using free energy. I'm talking about free energy, renewable energy.
So ang pasabot ni Jaya, free energy, ngatong una before all of this progress is energy of the wind.
Yeah.
Bulhuton sa hangin ang sail sa usa ka barko para mo power niya, di ba? And
Yeah.
water, di ba?
Yeah.
And di ba kanang usahay kanang magalingan, di ba? Or they actually use waterfalls and bodies of
The
water.
turbines.
The turbines,
Yeah.
di ba?
And the currents, ang mga sulog. We use the sulog so much.
Niadtong una, ang atong gigamit as energy was not because there was no fuel back then, di ba?
No.
So
no.
we were
didn't
we
invent
were
that.
powered by the wind and the air, but I don't think we were able to use a solar power as we know now, di ba?
Not that I actually remember.
That was a
or-
different way of using the sun.
Mhm.
But please continue. So
So-
I want this. I like this because you're painting a world wherein it's an alternative world
They call it alternative now.
nga would not lead us to back to where we are now. So padayon.
Yeah. So again, we were already harnessing free energy and we're already utilizing that before. And if we look at that and we fast forward to possibly now and in the near future, that we have already developed more ways of more convenience of how utilizing that, we could have ended up with, freer environment of the, let's say, toxicity around where the fossil fuels have gotten us into. And we could have evolved much more from all those. Because if you look at it, you improve from what you have. And I believe there were technologies already being done before that was just being trampled upon because of the agenda that whoever is going to try to make.
Sige.
But anyway.
I like the pop. I want to stay there for a little bit, just for a few minutes. Okay, so
Yeah.
on some agenda nila, so there were people who were back then were using
They were using it.
harnessing the power of the wind, power of water. And
Water.
other resources, right? So kinsa maning na agenda? Unsa may agenda nila day?
They were already, these are the people who's doing the puppeteering of the society. And I cannot name names and I cannot even point out, but that exists already. This is not a conspiracy theory. And everything that we are seeing right now is that we are already just the players of the game. We just have to play the game. And since we're talking about our ancestors, talking about the past and
Yeah,
what could have changed.
Could you point a certain point in time nga kana imong hisgutan nga nay agenda kinsa man ni siya or kinsa man ni sila, or not necessarily by name,
Yeah.
but just because using water and wind as fuel, as instruments to power commerce and all of that stuff seemed like a pretty good idea. So
It's always the idea.
and in fact, we're going back to it now, diba?
We are all coming back to that anyway.
We're all trying to utilize nature again now,
Yeah.
but who gave that idea? Like, because before fuel there was coal, diba? Naman coal, diba? There were steam engines, right? Like there was also steam and coal and then eventually fuel, right? So kanang fuel, like I can imagine siguro imported yun ang idea, diba? Kaya kanang auto
Somehow,
imported man ang idea kung if we were left to our own devices nga,
Yeah.
we were isolated from the world, we wouldn't probably have not been using cars because our mode of transportation were probably animals like horses and carabaos and stuff, diba?
We're not so good at it even. Like we were using the carabaos. But going back to the free energy, electromagnetic, it's being utilized. Some parts of the world. Kumbaga, you are asking, my God, who trampled the power? Who were the ones who trampled the
Who's the people that
Who are
had this agenda that you
these
speak of?
agenda.
Yeah.
I'd like to just leave some trails around it that look at our economy, especially our Western influenced societies. Look at how we tend to depend on, because it's all about dependency, all about believing in something that we need to always have around. And it comes with a price. It has a value. But if you have the wind, the water, electromagnetic, if you get to know about these things and then you just know that it exists no matter what, then that actually keeps them off from putting value into that and letting us go around and buy that.
So entrepreneur, diba? Pangwarta de ang honon na diyan.
Entrepreneurship, good, like that entrepreneurship word, the idea of being an entrepreneur in this progression of how we use energy, how we use fuel. Okay, right now, we know that water is an energy source. Definitely with us, we're more water than we think. So we know that a lot from the past have already worked without a lot of these, complexities. Like I remember the whole Einstein's notion of, the idiot is the one that complicates the simple, and the genius is the one who simplifies the
complicated.
Yeah. So now I see that you asked me that question, and I'm back to my frame right now, where I am. I'd like to say that if ever it would have been us only, not really only us, but if we progress from that point being that our ancestors were not eliminated from the game and we had a voice and we are strongly united, I would think that would have more ships and even flying stuff around.
So we would have probably harnessed the powers that we knew back then,
We
which
knew-
was the power
we knew
of water
well.
and
Naputol. Right.
and the
The
wind,
wind.
right?
Yeah, for us lang ha.
Oh.
Wind and water and the solar and electromagnetic are done everywhere else. Mag-abot man na. Eventually, we'll all end up in globalization because we'll all end up arriving into same places anyway. So,
So mo lagi
mag-exchange kita.
mo lagi kang pasabot lagi.
Mag-exchange kita.
So you're saying that globalization is
is inevitable.
Inevitable.
That's inevitable.
So pasabot niya na ba? we're
Yeah, yeah.
we're back to where we are now.
No, but
Because of the inevitability
Right, yeah.
of globalization, magkumpara ra magita og kaning technologies, di ba? Onya ang pinaka-attractive, pinaka-barato siguro, and pinaka-useful to society is the technology that wins. Meaning to say,
Yeah,
what does
yeah.
winning mean?
yeah,
Mahalin.
yeah.
Daghang mo palit, di ba?
Ah,
So eventually kung wala tayo technology that captures the fascination of the world and people will demand it from their nations, nga ganahan ko anang gasolina, okay, kung way gasolina ang atong mga auto nga gipalit nga gibaligya nila sa ato why dili ta makapadagan ani mo palit yung gasolina.
Since na ng discussion, Jiggy
Oh.
ba? I come to think of it ba? It's not that kaning sa entrepreneurship bitaw nga kinahanglan lang gyud para lang gyud makakwarta ta and so on. You know what? We could just have this available the whole, let's say if we have a wind powered turbine or anything vessel without that's powered by the energies that we just mentioned.
Okay.
Let's just say naagi po siya value. And then talking about it, di man gud ta pareha sa mga colonizers, the conquistadors when we moved around. I'm talking about us, our race and our nation, our ancestors. We did not ever try to conquer and whatever. So when you ask me about globalization is inevitable in terms of us being able to move around. So that's why the transfer and the sharing of information and technologies might be available, but it is not that we owned, especially I want to talk about it, huh? We owned these places. So if it could have been us that, because we were already moving around, if it could have been us that was able to start something off, let's say. But again, I'd like to just leave a little bit of
Start what?
void.
What do you mean by start something? Like what something?
Something more progressive from, let's say, just basically having a typical sailboat and vessel.
So you mean to saying because we are so good and we have been doing sailboats for a long time, we could have probably improved upon it
Definitely.
and would have created and maybe something that we cannot imagine now because
Yes.
because we can't go back we can't turn back the hands of time, but something that we could not imagine, we could have innovated something
Innovated a lot more.
that's more efficient.
Efficient and utilizing these
And maybe-
sources of energy.
Maybe this is something that the world will probably also demand, right? And
Yeah,
maybe they will adopt this thing, right?
In fact, we're even because of this convenience.
So
thing.
you think the wheel, which is
Yeah.
the precursor to the car,
Right.
and that's why we're addicted to. I know it
The
looks
fuel.
it looks very simplistic, but there's some truth to that, right?
Mm.
Do you think the wheel was not inevitable? Do you think that if it was not some other part of the world, it would have been somebody else? Didn't every culture, didn't they all have wheels? Didn't they
We did.
invent something
We did.
that allows you to transport yourself from point A to point B? That's something round that if you push it moves from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So nam a
Yeah.
version of the wheel here.
We do.
So,
we do.
kung ang-
Kariton de.
kung-
Kung itong kariton.
So kung ang wheel was inevitable in all parts of the world, and some cultures would have had a version of that,
Yeah.
then a car was inevitable.
Inevitable,
and
in a way.
and
But what if it was powered by the wind? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just opening doors right here.
or the sun, right?
Or sun.
Right.
Or it's utilizing already hydro powered. That would be the reality
So we could
that
have
I see.
We could have had an alternative world.
We've already had it.
Alternate world, I mean.
Alternate world where we are not lugmok sa kahirapan.
Okay. By Jaya,
And that stuff, yeah.
our biggest problem is always time, and from a philosophical and from a practical sense, we're always running out of time. And we're running out of time too right now because we've been talking for more than an hour. So by Jaya, like I want to ask you this: since we're already here, and this is something that we can no longer change where we are now, diba? And our past is also forever going to be the past because
We cannot always.
we cannot change the past, although there are
But we can review that.
historic revisionists and people who perceive the past differently.
Yeah.
The fact is, whatever it was, led us to here and now, where we are now. So, how do we? Saan man nato ba pag wane ourselves or maybe minimize or perhaps even totally eliminate our addiction to fuel? How do we stop this train from going in this disastrous direction? How do we stop the
I like the
wheel?
disastrous.
How do we
word.
stop? I've got an even bigger problem for
What's
you. How do we stop the wheels of commerce from turning in that direction that we all know will lead to our demise?
We definitely cannot stop the wheels of commerce at this point, but we can reinvent and
The wheel.
redirect.
Reinvent the wheel,
Yeah,
the literal wheel of
literal
commerce.
wheel of commerce. Reinvent and redirect the wheels where we're heading, because otherwise, if we don't have conversations and ideas being thrown out like this,
Okay.
like what you're having with me, the good questions, we would not even able to arrive into something that would improve what it is that we're having right now. It's always about constant improvement. It's always about adapting. It's always about moving forward. Because right now, ako nakita, we're actually stagnating and we're running around in circles. And that's why my advocacy is really like, look around you. We have a good privilege looking here.
What do you mean by stagnating? But before you answer that
Stagnating,
question,
man.
before you answer that question, I'd like to say hi and good afternoon to Michelle Nicolas. Dagang salamat. Thank you for watching,
Right,
Michelle
Michelle.
Nicolas. Jeric Malinaw, Villakai Mark Villa. Thank you so much. Joey Gomez, Rainer Dumlao, Prince Alan de la Cruz, and Juan Angel Tahiboy, and Chrissy Choi, and Demi Frank Gabisan. You know what? You guys watching helps us to be able to do this
That's right.
even more often. So show us your support, guys, by simply
thanks,
watching, by
thanks.
sharing, by telling your friends about it, by joining our very important conversation. I like what Kustan Edgardo said. Can you read that, Raf? What did he say?
Ang pasabot daw na kay baho daw mog mga kaanotch.
What does that mean?
What on earth? What's up with that?
Anyway, it all goes back to that. Anyway, so by Jaya,
I wanna
back to my
scratch
question.
that, yeah.
Back to my question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking about something. Like, okay. I was pointing out the frame of what I envisioned. Like, if I'm going to share with you all what I envision about our society, where we know our heritage, we know what we have mastered for at least 100 of years,
For centuries.
at
Okay.
least centuries.
Uh-huh.
When we improve from there, and looking at us now, where we're running around, and literally we're running around in circles. Nagbalik na mo ta. Since when man ta naggamit og gasoline engine? Since when were we using? And all the things that you see now, nausab lang ang porma, but we're still using the same technology. Right? Kanang hydro, solar lang na karon ang ni-improve because this is harnessed by this from the sun. Now, isn't that an ancient knowledge that the sun gives us power? And then a lot of the new technologies are basing on free energy. And then we're masters of free energy. And then that's why I mentioned, look around you, man. If we just utilize the waterways, and wa na to gidaog-daog atong waterways, and we had a great respect to that, and animism is alive here, then our waterways is a pathway. Our waterways is a trading center. It has been ever since.
So you're saying we can still utilize our waterways now. We can revive
We can revive it.
the waterways.
Definitely.
So for example, in modern society now, in modern let's just say Cebu society,
Yeah.
how do you envision us using the waterways? Ngano man gyud nga magbangka madjud ko, anong magpambot madjud ko, anong magbarko madjud ko, pwede ram ko.
Yeah.
Pwede ram ko maglakaw, magbisikleta or mag-auto. Nganong what added convenience will that bring?
The advent of flooding and the rain, the measure of rain, expected to flood all the time. Like last night, did you notice? Big one. It rained for a couple of days. Yeah, the amount and volume of rain is gonna be. It's not gonna go lower, man, because it's actually a mechanism of nature. Now, eh, pasintabi na lang sa mga flood control diya. Look at our flood control areas around there. Now, ila man ang gi-hold off ang ato ang natural structures sa rivers that actually that's very devastating to the life force that lives around it. But it's a little bit lesser evil than having a group of people squat around the area and all the more destroy that. Okay? So it's more of like the lesser destruction is still destruction anyway. So if I'm going to share everyone right now who's watching and listening and tuning in that is envisioning with me, then you'd have a waterways and then a cleaner riverways channel and so on. You don't have to go to Venice to experience the gondola. You don't have to go to other places to be paddling around and enjoying like, sights and scenes.
Pero lahi man ang labay, you talk about Venice, mura man nag-tourist spot, dili man na siya, it's not a functional body of water, or is it for tourists lang? Kaya
No, it's actually true. It's a body of water.
Is it functional? Are people actually
living or what?
Are people actually using it to travel from one point to another, or is it like a tourist thing lang?
It became a tourist thing. It's not the mega world you find in Manila.
No, I'm talking about the one in Venice, yeah.
The real one in Venice is actually a pathway for most people before.
Okay.
And it became a tourist
thing
because everybody wanted to try it and ride with them. But originally, the people from that place were using the waterways.
Okay.
Because mas dali man.
So mo lagi.
Right.
So that's a classic example of
That's a classic example, man.
an example of waterways nga gigamit niya tong una
Yeah.
nga kuha na lang mura nice to have na lang kay cute kayo kay it's a
Right,
tourist that it's a touristy thing to do. So it has its function has no longer served the waterway
Yeah.
because there are better ways to transport yourself from point A to point B. Di ba?
I wanna share that because kanang Ed Rama, our friend.
Our dear friend, yeah.
Yeah, he's the coastal management board chair
Before or still is. Is he still?
before.
Okay.
Kanang
Hi Ed, how you doing? Is he on the phone now or?
I'm not having him here. But
okay.
anyway, I mentioned him because let me tell you something.
Okay, go ahead.
There are 440 waterways. That's across the province, but in Cebu, we got more rivers than Talisay. And then he mentioned that to me.
What does that mean?
Kini bitang
I don't know what that means in practical
sense,
ba?
if we had preserved our waterways and respected it, we can go around the waterways, and there's a lot of trading centers in the waterways, and there's a lot of life, and there's a lot of livelihood around the waterways, and a cleaner
So
environment.
magun sa ko magpasabot nimo kung napa may pamaagi mo adto ko mall
Sapa ang agion.
dili ko maglakaw, di ko magbisikleta, di ko mag-auto.
That doesn't mean di ta mag-auto lakaw, but there are a lot of alternatives. The alternatives is way better because you now have a scenery na if only ba, like the word if only, and because I cannot blame these people. These people are blind. They don't really know what's going on. They're born blind. I'm saying born blind because they don't know the truth about their own culture.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about us as Cebuanos and Filipinos.
But
Grabe ni bay.
I don't know if this is a factor, but this just crossed my mind just now. The thing good with water is it accelerates degradation, meaning to say nga palitan kahoy. Kung you're around water, kung exposed to water, dali siya madunot, dali siya madaot, di ba?
Not necessarily.
Because
not all.
water manggod
Name a preserve actually.
kind of degrades a lot of materials, di ba? In fact, kung magpuyo ka og let's just say duol sa dagat, dali mataya ang imong
Goes
sakyanan.
for steel. Goes for steel.
Oh, and for steel, right? Kung kahoy imong hisgutan, madunot, di ba? Madunot, di ba?
Malata.
Malata. Mas madali malata kaysa dry. So there also must have been a practical understanding of the mechanisms of water also prevented us from capitalizing on those waterways. Don't you think so too?
Not necessarily, because we know what are the types of materials that can withstand, and we even know that we can use it for our advantage because now we are already aware that we can even preserve items, let's say wood or bamboo, for example. Ibutang ni mo sa brackish water, muligo no siya. We knew that already long ago. We already devised a way of Really strengthening bamboo.
So you're saying dili siya mo degrade
Rafts. Yeah, yeah.
magkaligon. So dili you
Yeah.
so kana mga
Stilt houses, by the way.
Mga stilt houses, mga wooden houses, mga
Look at it. Bamboo man na.
wooden ships, wooden kaning boats. Dili na sila mo degrade in time.
I'm not saying
because the reason manggod ngano nga siguro I'm just theorizing here is that of course everybody started using bamboo and kaning wood to build homes. So ang demand na sa bamboo ni saka na because people are building bamboo homes and wooden homes even outside of the waterways.
but it's faster to replenish bamboo.
So ni saka ang presyo sa bamboo. So maybe also the cost also because of the demand of wood also skyrocketed siguro.
Yeah.
That's why they probably were not able to maybe
It's
make
because of deforestation.
make more boats, make more wooden houses because of the rising prices.
It's the supply of wood.
So
Okay.
it's really a supply and demand
supply and
thing,
demand
diba?
yapon siya.
So katong imong because I've heard this story before. I hear this story a lot from Joel Garganera, si Panday, si Cons, and Rama and many other advocates of the water.
Right.
I feel like they're only probably looking at the good side. We're only listening to the good side, but there's probably also these were also disadvantages, ba? Because kana good ba? I totally believe in this, ba? If something is good, you can't really stop a good idea.
Yeah.
I theorize. Maybe it's naive of me to think like that, right? You can't stop a good idea from happening. Eventually, this idea will come out. So granting siguro nga, like unscrupulous businessmen, entrepreneurs, kaning mga those that are only in it for the profit, have subdued that idea of using our waterways, right? But is this an idea nga is actually a good idea and mura lang gi-subdue lang nato? Is this an idea that you predict will reemerge in some shape or form in the near future because of where we are now?
Where in my world, I believe so. In my world, where my lens is focused,
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
And I'm gonna work my way towards it as much as I can. I wanna connect and collaborate with people that would resonate this and has
So this is
yearning for this.
this is truly a better idea.
For me, I believe this is a really great idea, especially for our nation. Sa tuwag yung mga katawhan.
I use the word better because there are other ideas out there.
I
right?
know.
Diba? Of course, obviously the one that won is building roads and bridges and concretizing everything.
That we know is not really helping.
That seems to be
Seems to be.
the winning idea.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a good idea, but the winning idea.
Yeah, the popular idea.
That's the word that I was
It's a
looking
popular
for. The
idea.
more popular idea. So
Yeah.
so do you think kaning animuhang idea of using the waterways is actually the superior idea? Superior idea.
Especially in our island archipelagic nation, because we're surrounded by water and waterways are all over. And we even are known, the Sinibuoyang Hinpit is known as a waterway trading system, a trading route. We're known navigators and we know the way of water. That's why.
Kani atong pag-archipelagic ba, 7,107 islands and all of that stuff is a thing that we brag about. And that's why we are so unique as a people, diba? As a Filipino. But it's also one of our biggest disadvantages, diba? That's why we're not as united as we think we are. It's more expensive to go from one island to another, and then our dialects are different because of our separation from each other, diba?
Regional stuff, yeah.
And there is a project, I forgot what it's called, the Maharlika Bridge or something like that will bridge the entire Philippines, right? So you can just use that bridge to travel from Mindanao to Luzon and back, right?
Yeah.
My question here to you, Bajaya, is this: it seems to me that that's a good idea because it lowers a lot of transportation costs. Goods traveling by land in a straight line. I imagine it to be a straight bridge, right? Straight line from point A to point B.
Not necessarily.
It's probably cheaper than transporting
by a boat.
Transportation goods from boat, from airplane.
Yeah.
So I think it seems to me that that's a good idea. It seems to me that bridging people from island to island, connecting us, is a good idea. There are 3 bridges in Mactan, right? The CCLX, the Cordova, the first bridge, and the
Yeah.
quote unquote not so new bridge, diba? So it seems to me that it actually works. I mean, why would you do it 3 times? Why would you build bridges instead of asking people to ride boats from point A to point B if it didn't work?
Nowadays, we know the answer. Why would they build more bridges
I don't know the answer.
rather than
I don't know.
improving the infrastructures?
I know, you think, somebody's making money, of course, but
But that's the truth.
I know, but
It's a lot more money.
but isn't it easier to travel by walking from one bridge to another, by running, by biking, or by riding a car compared to traveling by boat from Cebu or from Mandaue to Mactan? Isn't that the more
Although-
the cheaper and the more practical way of transporting?
if it's gonna be available for free, the people can walk around it, bike around it. That's actually practical in a way. It's like a retrospect to us going back to the land bridges thing.
Mo lagi.
Right? So I guess the idea of having the bridges, and I know that it's already in the pipeline of eventually projects that our government will do.
So isn't
hopefully in this lifetime.
Isn't it a very beautiful thing, by Jaya?
It's a beautiful thing if we just happen to know that we'll be affecting a lot of biodiversity along the way. But
So you're talking about
you have to be careful.
You're talking about now the ecological,
impact.
environmental argument against it.
Yeah.
So, but my argument is that I'm talking about the economic impact of and the how do you call this, the because culturally we're so diverse, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah. Mhm.
Pero murag di ba lain-lahin gyud kada island ba? Lain-lahin
Yeah,
kinaiya ba?
Yeah.
Lain-lahin way to
I'm not against it, Jiggy Juice.
lain-lahin
I'm not-
way to govern, di
Right,
ba?
right. I'm not against
So
the
ikaw,
whole bridge.
kung leader ka, maglisod juga og mo nang para nako correct me
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
I'm sure probably being a president or a leader of a country in the Middle East is probably more difficult, especially where we are now
Yeah.
in the world. But I think running the Philippines is one of the most difficult tasks of a leader because we're so katag, we're so just everywhere, man.
Right.
We're
That's
so-
why our government system is not working for us.
exactly. So building a bridge actually makes ruling.
If they can
easier.
do that, hopefully this lifetime, if they can do that, then that could help the leadership of this country be much more efficient.
Yeah.
But again, let's look at the impacts of biodiversity. We should learn not to be corrupt in doing so that we can build it efficiently.
Okay, nga abot
And-
naman ta sa biodiversity. Can you give us
Affected magot siya,
Can-
Jiggy Juice.
can you give us the quick version of that? What is biodiversity?
The life forms.
in a nutshell,
Yeah.
and why is it important to maintain a certain biodiversity? Go ahead.
That is what makes everything that you live around with alive. And then look at it, ang atong isda sa natukwaon.
Okay.
Ang atong tubig nga dagat, diha man nagpuyo ang isda. Ang mga kahoy kinsay na muyo diha, unsay pagkaon makuha na to around it. And the air that we're breathing. This is what we call biodiversity, that we are actually hand in hand given off and taken away from each other.
So you think biodiversity of the Philippines will be affected if we have a bridge from point A to from Luzon,
Ang
Visayas, Mindanao?
importante lang lagi, because I know that the engineering and brilliance of our minds as humans will always have a way of doing it without much damage and destruction. Mo lang ni ako i-challenge ba is that.
That's your hope.
My hopes is kumbaga di lang diretso ligsan bitaw usa ka isla, usa ka marine sanctuary.
So if we can do that,
If we
then-
can do it that
if
way,
we can
yes,
do that,
why
then-
not?
So the argument for bridges, land bridges, connecting islands, is actually the best idea.
It could be the best idea for the government.
Kato imong suggestion nga atong i-revive atong waterways because that's a superior idea to transport people, to transport goods, to travel is not as good as you think you say it is.
It's another alternative. It'd still be an alternative. It would still be an alternative because the bridges, you would have areas where the boats can pass by underneath, and we have more vessels now, sleeker, faster. I could always point out to you an example, man, about it.
Because we're having this discussion, Magud, in the context of our addiction to fuel. So kaning gisgutan ng mga sleeker, faster, gamit na pa ng fuel pod.
Dili. What I mean is using like just a sleeker boat. Where there's a boat sleeker, faster.
I mean, yung pasabot ka ng mga supercut and all of that stuff. Dili
No,
day,
no,
fast
no,
craft,
no,
dili
no.
day, dili day.
No, we're gonna utilize again, as I said, katong sa ako ang lens is that we're mastering our crafts once again. I-revive na to ang atong knowledge and heritage about it. Then we build better about it. Then we are now more back to and in tune to our ways, and then we are now able to develop more faster ways and utilizing the wind.
We're actually more in tune with our environment.
Environment as well.
And also,
100%.
And I think the best way to describe it, we're actually in tune with our true
nature.
True nature.
Yeah.
Diba? Meaning to say,
Yeah.
nature in the sense nga environment and also who we are as a people, diba?
Yeah, we adapt to the environment.
Pero
Rather than we control the environment.
Pero mo lagi,
we're on top of it.
mo lagi by Jai, but of course we're all talking about this I think in the context of globalization, in the context of the age of information, you know what I mean? In the age of social media and in the near future, artificial intelligence. So
Yeah.
kanang ato ang desire, our kaning our human tendency to live that's closer to our nature and who we really are is challenged by all of these enormous and powerful forces, right?
Right.
Kanang ato ang paggalahi, di ba? Our uniqueness as a people is challenged by what we see in social media.
Yeah.
That we're all scrolling the same things based on what we like and
Like
all of
to
that
see.
stuff. So again, kani ang ato ang mga pangandoy, mura uga this could all be for naught because of these stronger forces. What are your thoughts on that, and how can you push back against these enormous forces that I feel is unstoppable? Go ahead.
At this point in my life, I think I am there. I'm still on the pursuit of that. And just to let you know, aside from whatever that is my trade, I'm always still keeping an eye off of this. I'm not letting my sight off of this. Now, whatever that I do right now, and whatever that is, and if you happen to hear this right now, if you're in that pursuit as well, I want you to know that I'm there to support you, and I'm there to do activities around it because I'm an activity guy. I do events around it, and I make sure that people get to experience it. You know, be there, ride that boat. I might not be the owner of the boat, but I know how to go around
Okay,
that.
when you say boat,
The vessel.
you have to be more specific. Kaya akong ano na lagi boat ka ng mga
No,
kukalyo nga
the
mga
ferry boats.
dagko kaya mga
Yeah,
ferries,
yeah.
mga fast craft. What do you mean by
I'm talking
by
about
boats?
the boat that uses free energy as much as possible. The one that still carries our heritage.
Mga bangka.
Bangka, we call them the bigyo, the parao, the katamaran. These are available, by the way.
Okay.
And kumbaga, the people that owns it, we can utilize. So ako alang is, for me, that I've been doing this, I'm keeping an eye of this. I think that it is very possible that we just come around and experience that. Ako alang i-invite is just for you to experience. Kita niya, Jigiju, sakay niya ta ni Buzzy. Buzzy was here before.
Yeah, yeah.
I invited him over.
I'm a very good. I know Buzzy Budlong.
Yeah. I invited him over.
I remember he had a thing in what is that beach resort before it was
Like
purchased
that,
by
Mactan Newtown,
yeah,
then
before that, right?
Carancho.
What was that before? What was that called before?
It's Mactan Newtown.
No, before that. Before it was Mactan Newtown. Something else, right? Anyway, he had
Yeah.
like a nice
Oh yeah.
nice island there.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
anyway, so
Bitaw.
I think in the same way nga, that's why fuel is so freaking expensive because there are very few alternatives, although an argument can be made
At
nga
that point, yeah.
electricity or electric vehicles or EVs are actually
on the rise. They're
on the rise.
right
But
now.
if you think about it, dili pag yun siya at that point nga ang presyo sa gasolina maubos na. Wala
Yeah.
pag ito naabot anang panahon na by Jaya ba?
Right.
Because there's still a lot of societies that are just like Philippine societies, very dependent on fuel, di ba? Yung kanang electric vehicle technology, I would say, although we're getting good at it,
Mm.
we still have not really perfected it, and also a lot of people are not yet convinced. Although there's a small percentage of society that's already convinced, right? But what I'm saying is, kung nindot pa ng idea hon to, uh, wala tatay addiction to fossil fuel. But the truth is, nga atong electricity is
At the
actually
moment.
it's also actually powered by
Powered by fossil fuels.
fossil
At the
fuels,
moment,
di ba?
yeah.
So
At the moment, yeah.
parehas gyud mo storya.
Yeah.
Dili kayo siya it is
And
it is an alternative.
and there's also the WTE on the conversations right
What's
now.
a WTE?
The waste to energy.
Ah, yeah,
The
yeah.
incineration.
Yeah, so
That's another one.
ang
That's
importa-
another fuel source.
ang importante magud sa usa ka butang, especially if it's a mode of transportation or a way to power something,
Mm.
na lang gyud alternative. The word is alternative because alternatives actually drive the price down,
Mm.
di ba? Kung ang usa ka butang na ay kompetensya, iya gyud ang iya gyud ang tanaw-tanawon sa iyang luyok in something kaning mode of transportation, no? Abi nako kaning train ra og barko, kaning auto og jeepney or kaning taxi ra ang only game in town. Na de bangka de pwede de ko mo travel og
Ang
water,
importante yung free trade.
di ba?
Free trade yun. Not monopolies. Free trade. Like we
You're talking about now a global perspective now nga kinanglan we can trade without any restrictions.
not necessarily restrictions, but we also always have to have guidelines.
Mm.
Nagya po yung mga
Pero
balawat yapon.
you don't believe in taxing nations.
Well, taxing is
so anti-Trump de gabe kasi Trump ra ba
dili.
Saman.
Dili.
Pasabta ko.
I'm not I don't even pay attention about that.
Oh.
Pero to tax means to utilize the tax that's being paid. That's absolutely needed.
Was that yeah.
It's needed, but not to a point nga imo na lang yung ipiton because there's the global, the global politics around.
Mm.
So I don't want to talk about that stuff. I'm not in any I don't have the energy.
Speaking of tax, but they're actually suggesting and in fact the president is actually probably asking Congress to help him in removing excise tax.
Mm.
There's a tax that doesn't exist in other nations. Am I right?
Which
kanang
one?
excise
Which one?
tax ba sa fuel ba? Na yung mga taxes
okay.
para to drive the price of fuel down.
Alright.
Murag kuhaon niya certain taxes, but the thing with taxes man good is i-allocate na mo guna sa gobyerno good for certain projects ba? And all of that stuff.
That conversation came in the picture, but right now we're on a hot topic about the exposition of all these taxes sa padong.
I think we have to temper our conversation when it comes to corruption
Mo said like
with the reality ba?
Mm.
Because the reality is kita as a corrupt nation, we're actually middle of the road. We're not the best at corruption.
we're not really the best. We're not the top.
Middle
You're
of the
saying.
road. We're mid.
Yeah, so you're saying we're not the top.
Mid-rata. So corruption is just one thing that
Mm.
drags a nation down. You know,
yeah.
Running nations is a complicated thing. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that job if somebody gave that to me for free. So yeah, kaning lisod kay nga trabaho.
But you were offered one, right?
Yeah, president sa amo ang kapilya. So akong pasabot ba, it's really complicated and all of that. So and I think our energy concerns are very complicated, and ang demonstration of the complexity of it all is some war in some obscure part of the world.
Yeah.
Maapektuhan ko.
Mo lagi.
Ano gano'n sa may labot na ko anang the Ayatollah, sa may labot na ko anang Trump o ni Netanyahu manggod. So ko kailan ang sa kailan ako nganong so grabe na kay taka interconnected ba. So I think there's probably a bigger concern here by Jaya. This is not just about our addiction to fuel. We are so in love with the idea of oneness, our interconnectedness, not just as a tribe, as a people, as a nation, but as a planet. And being so connected to each other.
Yeah.
Kung atsihon dito si Donald Trump, si Bongbong Marcos tari hubakon. Akong pasabot is we're all interconnected. Whatever happens in any part of the world, apil ta.
Yeah.
So we are always talking about how unique we are as a people and all of that stuff. You always bring that up atong mga lumad, di ba?
Yeah.
But how about unity? How about it
I like
seems
that
it
topic.
seems like
I like that
it
topic,
seems
yeah.
like a naive and mura og kaning uninformed worldview ba.
Mhm.
But I think, excuse me, but I think it is pretty successful by and large.
Mhm.
Nga kaning idea of interconnectedness and of oneness as a people, as a species is actually the best idea, not a perfect idea, but the best idea, and
Mm.
it has its flaws. Kung naigubat dito apektuhan ta, but more or less,
Yeah.
it actually is a good way to live.
I like the way where you're leading this conversation into, especially this very part,
Yeah.
because we're now seeing the impacts of globalization in a whole scale where we're already feeling it.
Yeah.
Not like before, then when there's war in other places, di kayo,
Dili kita makafeel.
you don't really get the impact.
Okay.
Especially we're not really that mature yet.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not the ones earning money for
Yeah.
our family. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. The way I see it now is that now we know that just a slightest, like katumingon, the slightest of a detractor going on in one
Si
place.
sipunon lagi ang Amerika lagi.
Sipunon si Amerika,
Hubakon
hubakon
ang
na si
Pil-
Philippines.
Oh.
Now, ain't that also happening in our natural ecosystems?
Mm.
That since we are now globalized, we also have to feel for natural. Like example, si puno ng, like si Brazil, gishavan lang gamay, gisunog lang, gidauban gamay, we already have a desert across the other place. More desert. So this is now a call for us to become more, let's utilize this time to be more sensible enough to relate to the world in a bigger scale, that we're already affected and we're already feeling that part of that is our environment. So that environment thing is not only a niche, it's not only a favorite part
Because we breathe the same air.
we breathe the same air.
Bahala na nga nasa sa Middle East or sa America
We're
or
all
sa,
affected.
we're breathing the same air.
Like-
We're swimming in the same ocean.
Ocean, and right now it's getting cold.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds so naive, Besa, talking like that. Sa? We're breathing the same air. Yeah, right. We're swimming so yeah, right. You know what I mean? It sounds so like we're about getting you're so woke. You're so like you're so like not living in reality. But
No, come on.
that is actually a
That's the truth.
organic, true, material truth, right?
That's an observable truth.
Yeah,
That's something you cannot deny.
yeah,
Mas mag-imagine baka mubasa ka imong novel diha.
yeah.
Right? So the point of us here, like I that's why I appreciate this leading conversation right now, is that now we take the stage. It's time, it is high time for almost every one of us to use our voice. Now we have social media. Social media's power is very much effective.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we use our social media, we use our power to connect. And we're all as connected as we are now than way, way back.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the era, but right now we're connected. Why not use this space to get these leaders' attention? And because when we get the leaders, and there are a lot of avenues these leaders come upon, like say COP, the COP, the global kind of conference of leaders, and they go. And right now, even here in the Philippines, we have the ASEAN, diba? The governor's gonna receive the ASEAN. Rather than hiding the truth, like an example that I want to share, tabunan ni mong pasil, why not expose it so that we can try to improve it? You know what I mean? Nga kaning tanan nga mga negative that's coming out, embrace it and then improve from it rather than deny it and steer away from the truth, because that's the truth, man.
So what is the truth?
Manimaho mo gina imong truth diha.
Mo lagi,
No matter how you hide,
as I was telling you earlier, diba? Information, the truth is inevitable.
it is inevitable.
You can hide, you can pretend that you have this idyllic world that you want to inhabit, but the truth is you'll be exposed to a shinier, better way of being, perhaps an easier way of being. So dili inevitable gyud na siya nga makakita gyud ka sa kamatuoran nga ang ubang tao sa kalibutan mo na ni ilang kinabuhi. Now we can't help because we're comparing machines. Our brains are made to filter what we see and what we don't see based on our truth and what is true of the world, diba? So
Yeah.
mo desire sa dato nga nga sa kaning ang mga tao dito sa ubang lugar ay ilahang mga balay kanang dako mo kay sanan o niya paghuman kaning pila ka room, nila mga auto dito, kusog kay bulhot kayo, di ba? Ikaw na, nakakita na ka na. Some people cannot unsee that. They cannot unsee the truth.
They're in the illusion.
No.
They're there.
There's nothing illusory about the fact there are bigger, faster, more efficient cars, bigger houses. That's a truth, right? That's a truth. The bigger house.
But what's the function?
Physically, we're not talking about function. We're talking about the truth. We're talking about truth here by Jaya. So
Well,
the same truth that you're talking about, the water, we swim in the same sea, we breathe the same air. That's a truth. It's also a truth. There are different ways of being, different ways of living. Kung ang mga kalipay sa ubang tao, lahi-lahi, di ba? Pero kung makakita ka na, ang ubang tao na niya mo reject. Pero ubang tao po, makakita siya na siya comparison ba? Because our nature is comparison. So, anong gamay niya kung balay? Basta
Let
ko.
that be another lens of the truth that you're trying to make. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave it to that.
Laghan juga yung versions of the truth. And all we're saying here in this show and in this conversation that I feel like we're having the same conversations all the time. It's just the topics are different, but at the end of the day,
It's still Jiggy and Jai.
it's still Jiggy and Jai, and it is always still about the pursuit of what is true. Diba? Unsa man gyud, we really want, ang atong tendency is we really try to get the bottom of it, right? And
That's what we're here for.
sometimes I have a sense ba nga the bottom is the same. The bottom line of everything is I can't quite put my finger on it yet, and I can't describe it in
'Cause
words.
you don't need to put your finger on it.
I can't describe it yet in words because maybe the thing that we're trying to get at, to arrive at, is the same thing. That's why it's always not describable in words. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing here. Human as we are, we're attempting
to try.
we're trying to get to the bottom of why we're addicted to fuel
Yeah.
and why how we should behave ba in these very tumultuous times nga ang atong presyo sa gasolina puwerte ng taasa.
Yeah.
Unya ang ato ang mga palaliton puwerte ng taasa and pang pliti puwerte ng mahala.
Yeah.
Ang ato ang kung mukaon kag gawas siguro ron murag ni mo increase na by so much, di ba? So murag we're always trying to get to the bottom of all of these things that are happening with us. And I think I have a feeling by Jaya,
That's that.
the thing that we're trying to describe, the thing that we're struggling every single show, every single day, not just in our radio show, but in real life, the thing that we're searching is probably the same thing, man. And and I think that thing is indescribable.
That's what is indescribable.
Yeah, the thing that we're
The
trying
thing.
that we're trying to arrive at. We don't have the language to describe it yet. We don't have the grammar to describe it yet.
But you can definitely feel that. You can definitely,
Yeah.
sense what is it that is coming.
Yeah. So, guys, if you want to join us in our pursuit of the truth, to the bottom of things and why we're here and meaning and all of that stuff, masig among hisgutan kay gasolina o our addiction to it, maabot lagi punta sa usa ka butang, which is that bottom line of what it is that keeps us together, what it is that we are doing this for, like purpose and meaning and all of that stuff. So, by Jaya, daghang salamat sa imuhang
Daghang salamat sad
sa imuhang
sa mga naminaw and you stay behind. Salamat sa Jiggy Juice.
and I hope more or less this conversation that we just had will help you in trying to deal with our current fuel crises. Daghang salamat, you guys, and you guys take
Thank
care.
you,
This
Manny Joe.
is your host. My name is Jiggy Juice, and
Si Bay Jaya.